Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Aztecs Basketball Kiss the Rings episodes here at Sons of Montezuma. It's been a busy day. Thank you guys for joining us. The Aztecs fall on the road to Utah State, 79-71. It was a battle. A lot of craziness. A lot of craziness happens when you go on the road to Logan. And this game was no exception. We're going to get into all of it. But first, we all got to live through the flashback together. See you in just a moment.
Kiss the Rings.
11, another rebound, Boyd's. And how about the finish from Martinez? But right now, all concerns. They feel the weakest part of that zone is at the free throw line. But Akano again. Good looks. Akano, another three. He's hot. Update on Magoon Gwath, a hyper-extended right knee. So great news for San Diego State. And even better, their first. Martinez to Allen. He thought about it. Allen up top. Akano, ball fake. Another three. Oh, still on fire. Boyd into traffic. Open look to Goreville and a response. 9 to shoot. Heidi with the screen. Boyd turns the corner. Breaks down the defense. Ferrari from the corner. Count it. San Diego State trailed by 7. Dutcher didn't like what they did on that set. Boyd settles for a step back three. Wow. And they'll take it as he ties it up. Compton to the cup, the foul, and the bucket. Compton, a big-time hoop. He's got a team-high 15, 13 of those coming in the second half. Oh, what Martinez, though, buries the...
Stop this man. You can only hope to contain him. Could have used you out there, Fiend. What's going on? They needed your whistle.
Yeah, too many whistles out there on the court by the refs. But yeah, my free throw whistle, I don't know if it would have helped or not, but disappointing. We'll get into, everything with Goon, some bittersweet, there where we got some good news, but definitely the outcome was not what we had hoped, but it doesn't kill you in the grand scheme of things as far as tournament hopes and things like that. It's we were not favored in that game, so tough place to play. Got to give it to Utah State. They showed out. Their student section was amazing, and they had some guys really step up and make some big shots.
Yeah, you know what you're going to get. You know what you're getting yourself into when you make that road trip up to Logan, Utah. Of course, we've talked about it ad nauseum, just not wanting to go there as fans, right? You can imagine the team having to travel there. You saw the pictures. It's snowing. It's cold. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's a hostile environment. You got to give them their respect. They are the top 2 teams in the Mountain West this year. Along with New Mexico, who we're going to get on Tuesday. So it's not going to get any easier, but you knew what to expect in this game. You knew it was going to have just a little, tinge of crazy. There's always a little tinge of crazy when you go play there in Logan. It's just, I can't really put my finger on it, but it's just, it's just an odd environment. And who am I kidding? Get this thing off. I can't think with this thing. 79-71, Aztecs take the L, and more than an L, they lost Magoon, of course, like you say, some bittersweet news. But it was a battle. It was a battle. I think anybody who watched that game, looking at you, Mike Tortolot, anybody who actually watched that game, you walked away very frustrated because of the loss, but also, I don't know about you, Fiend, but I walked away really, how do you say, just proud of the young guys. They battled all the way through. It was a back and forth game. Started off terribly with Goon going down in the first 3 minutes, and to see them go through all that adversity, the whistles, as you said, and still make it a game until, we'll get into it those whistles. But Goon goes down first 3 minutes of the game, man, and it did not look good. The knee buckled. It looked like it really turned inward, and we were, apologies to everybody who may have thought we were going to go up to Ale Smith. I wish we could have been there. But we were celebrating birthdays, so happy birthday, Angel. Happy birthday, Jesse. First off, we were down south, and we were all watching together, and just, oh boy, heartbeat just skipped a beat, and just hoping for the best. But the refs from the beginning, let's talk about this, because this was ridiculous. Goon goes down, the ball goes to the opposite end of the court. Okay, the shot is missed. SDSU trainers are already under the basket, checking up on Goon, right next to the official. I don't know what was going on in that official's mind. The ball comes all the way back down to this side of the court. It should have been whistled, stopping the action. Everybody knows that by now. Aztec Nation, we were on fire. What was going on in your mind when you saw those guys coming down, knowing that, Sergio, I believe, is down there with Magoon? And I mean, what a dangerous situation. What a bonehead situation these officials made.
Yeah, I was pretty angry, and they should have stopped play right away when he was down on the ground there. And I think Dutcher was calling for the refs to stop play even while we had possession of the ball. That was the right thing to do, would have been to stop play right there. But they let it go on, and unfortunately we had a turnover, and then that went the other way. But that could have been it could have turned a really bad situation into a very, very ugly situation if someone had been fouled and landed on Goon. I mean, there's just no excuse for that. And the refs, they got to do better to stop play. I know you don't want to take away a team's advantage, but I think player safety has to be a priority over all of that. And so, yeah, that was, I think a lot of us were really angry at the refs at that point, and it just got worse throughout the night.
And it's, not, of course you got Magoon down there, so you want to take care of him first and foremost. But it's not just even him, it's Sergio down there.
Yeah.
It's the players coming down that are actually still playing, and I understand they went up for the dunk. It was a fabulous play, but I mean, even for their own safety, you fall down, you come down after the dunk, you step on an ankle, there's just a number of things that could have went wrong. I mean, that's I don't know how much more I could say. I mean, that's something you don't even see at a rec league game most of the time. This isn't the Boys and Girls Club. This is
I've never seen that where there was live play with the player down on the floor underneath the basket.
So credit to Dutcher. I mean, he really, that lit a fuse in him. The whole coaching staff was up in arms. I mean, they didn't even stop playing until Dutch literally had to run out on the court and go check up on his guy. And you see something like that, and of course we're all hoping the best for Magoon down there on the court. But you see Dutcher fly out there, and you're just like, man, that's my coach right there. He's stepping up, sticking up for his players, for his team, going to his aid, and just letting the officials have an earful. Very proud of Coach Dutch in that moment, realizing the situation and giving it the appropriate fire and intensity that those officials deserve. But the game had to go on, right? Goon goes to the locker room. They're checking up on him, and it didn't go well to begin with. I mean, we really could not stop their 3-point shooter, who it's just one of those games again. Somebody gets really hot who doesn't normally get really hot, and we get torched. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Akano, 26 points, 7 of 9 3-pointers. Fiend, how do you explain this, sir?
I mean, there were deep threes too. It's like he was on a heat check and he just kept hitting them, and it was just his night. So the fact that we were able to overcome that and take the lead later in the game, like you said, we fought back. I mean, the gut punch that we all felt. I mean, I felt like I got the wind knocked out of me when Goon went down. At that point, it wasn't really even about the game. I'm just concerned about him. How bad is the injury? Is he going to be able to come back this year? Is this going to affect his career? You just never know with those knee injuries. And so for the team to be sort of in shock, which you absolutely would expect them to be in a game, and then battle back when they get down and claw their way back. I think they were within 7 at halftime, and then we just kept battling back in the face of a guy who's having a career night, right? And then there were just so many factors that we had to deal with. So yes, when you say, hey, I'm proud of them, I'm very proud of the way that this team played and how they didn't fold. They could have easily folded. Things could have gone south in a hurry, and we could have gotten routed by Utah State, and no one would have really blamed them, but the fact that we were actually up with like 3 minutes to go, but again, then collapse at the end, right? So some things to work on there, but I am proud of how we battle back in that environment, which is so tough to play in.
It really is, and I think having to play in the pit already, that's such a good preparation for you early in the year, that the rest of the year, you know how to handle it. I don't think the crowd got to them to where they were flustered at all. I mean, the guys were making the extra passes, they were moving the ball around. Nick Boyd, I mean, what can you say? Let's go through the box score just a little bit. Nick Boyd, 15 points. He wasn't his dominant self, but it was a very, very fine performance. 6 assists. He had some really clutch deep shots, some really clutch layups. I mean, he was making things happen. BJ Davis, 14 points, big points, 4 big 3-pointers, 4 of them. 5 rebounds, so for a guard, he was mixing it up in there and making things happen. And of course, he was really, really hot down the stretch until he got into some foul trouble. And that was pretty much the play that changed the game. He gets his 5th foul. Once he goes out, 3 minutes left in the game, and it was all downhill from there, man. We didn't score another bucket, but neither did Utah State. They didn't score another bucket either. They scored one to I believe, I want to say, come within 1 or tie it, something like that, a 3-point shot. And then from there on out, it just turned into a free throw shooting contest. But before we dive into that, just a really good overall performance from a lot of different guys that stepped up in Magoon's absence, right? Farrell Compton, 7 points, Miles Heide, 6 points. Kimo, like you said, came off, had 2 big 3-pointers. Taj, of course, JCJ had some 5 points, 5 boards. It was a tricky game. I felt like he got the shots that he got off. I was like, man, those shots look good. Like, we should continue to go to that. But I don't know how the game was flowing. It just didn't go in his direction. But what do you say, man? What do you say? This Utah State team, we had a chance to get in that second seed, at least compete for that second top spot. And now it feels like they got that on lock.
They made timely plays, just like they did at Viejas. Nick Boyd hits that 3. We go up 4 points. I'm feeling pretty good. It was like, 3 minutes left to go? And then they come right back down, and they run a screen for Ian Martinez. He steps out and hits a 3. Now it's down to 1, right? Then we come down the other way. BJ misses a 3 that would have put us up 4 again. And then that's when they got out in transition, and Ian Martinez actually walked with Vern Harris, the ref, standing right there and didn't call it. And then I really do think that was kind of a weak 3-point, the foul on the 3-point shot. But BJ's got to know better than that, because he made the same mistake against Wyoming, against a great 3-point shooter in Ogbum. I mean, so, that's twice that he's made that play. And I think he might have fouled out both times in doing that. Just really some bad, mistakes at the end there. And then Albury, who's a career he's 67% from the line. He hits 12 of 13, and he just drives, and every time he drives, gets a foul. and then we drive, we don't get the whistle. I don't think that the refs determine the outcome of the game, right? I don't want to put that on them. I think there's things that we could have done to put things in our favor, but it definitely there was just so many factors against us in that game, and it's a shame. We had a chance to steal it back, and we didn't.
I'm glad you bring it up, dude, because nobody wants to say, "Oh, they cheated." I mean, our group likes to yell that out, right, at the games and stuff. But nobody wants to say it's intentional. There's some kind of thing behind it. I don't think they necessarily, won the game off of that stuff, but it does skew the game, right? It kind of skews the game to create a certain scenario by whether it's just a happy whistle or whatever it is. But like you bring up Albury. 12 of 13 free throws, man. 13 free throws just himself.
Yeah.
And I know somebody was asking as far as like defense goes. I mean, he's a pretty big guard. He's a physical guard. He's a senior guard. That is a senior
gets downhill.
Guard.
Yeah.
And he gets downhill. Yeah, he pushes, he forces the action. So he was really taking it into the middle of the lane, just bodying up. Whether it was Chemo or McKinney, like, he was really getting in there. He was knifing it in there. But 13 free throw attempts himself. Ian Martinez had 18 points. He got 7 free throws to add to that total, to make that total, right? And then all other than that, Dexter Akano with his 3-pointers. So anyways, just it all just kind of boils down. One guy got really hot. The refs got very whistle happy, especially within those 3 minutes. And the timely shots, like you said, we couldn't buy a bucket in those last 3 minutes. There was just not the best shot selection, and even when they did have some layups, it just wasn't falling.
Yeah, and I mean, they had a lot of fouls too, though. They had 3 guys. They had Akano, Martinez, and Albury, who all had fouls. I thought Albury committed his 5th. When he pushed Chemo Ferrari. Chemo went flying. I thought that was an obvious, offensive foul, and they didn't call it. And I think he went to the line. They called a foul on Ferrari, so that, that's points the other way, and you would have gotten him out of the game. The thing with the, we had Vern Harris reffing our game. When that guy is reffing, you got to understand, or maybe the coaches need to communicate to the players that guy has a tight whistle. Like, he's not going to let you play. The 2 games where we had the most fouls this season, at Utah State and at Air Force, he reffed those games. Those are the only 2 games that he reffed this year for the Aztecs. Oh, no, I'm sorry. In the Gonzaga game, too. Gonzaga as well. And there was a free throw kind of, disparity there. Now, I'm not saying he's got anything against the Aztecs, but you got to, like, if you're a coaching staff, you got to, if you see that guy is reffing, you got to tell your players, hey, you can't be over aggressive. This guy's going to, call you for a foul. And how many fouls did we have, like, beyond half court? Right on the other side of the floor, where they weren't a threat. So that is just something that with youth, I think a lot of this game came down to youth, and not having experience, and not knowing, not knowing like that ref, you can't play tight. It doesn't fit like our style either, because we want to be aggressive. We want to guard them close. And the way he calls, he refs a game doesn't allow you to do that. And when Utah State's in a zone, they're naturally not going to foul as much, right?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, when you feel like you got a ref that's out for you, I agree with what you're saying. You got to somehow curtail your game to be aware of how they're going to call it. But what's done is done. What's done is done. And I like your point of the youth. I know some people have been hollering, you can't be using that anymore. You can't say that anymore. Even last week after that Fresno game, I said, look, these guys are not freshmen anymore. They're playing second half of the season, coming towards March. And I don't think they necessarily played like freshmen at all. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is you look across that Utah State team, and a lot of senior leadership in that starting five. They've got some young guys, some sophomores as well, sprinkled in there. But absolutely, their veteran leadership stepped up. And ours, got to call it as it is, couldn't get the job done. But there's still a lot of ball left to be played. Of course, tomorrow night, we got to turn the page, right? Teams got to turn the page really quick. These turnovers from Saturday to Tuesday are very, very fast. The injury to Magoon today, I believe it was Coach Baratelli on the John and Jim show, right? He kind of made the announcement that it wasn't anything more than the hyperextension of the knee. So, thank the basketball gods for that one. All the scenarios go through everyone's minds once you saw that injury and knew along the lines of the nature of the injury. So to hear that after the MRI, and everybody wants to jump the gun. Oh, it looked like this, it looked like that. But until you get the MRI, you don't know. You just don't know. It maybe hyperextended, maybe there's a little something tear, whatever. But when you hear them say there's nothing more than that, that's huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah, very huge. And I think, we're all breathing a sigh of relief because let's face it. I mean, I would consider Goon our best player for what he does on the court, defending the rim, being able to score at 3 levels, shoots 37% from 3. He's got a skill set that really no one else has in the Mountain West. And so for him to possibly have it's looking like he might be back before or during the Mountain West tournament, which is great for us because we'd love to have him back. And we felt his absence yesterday. Utah State was able to get to the hoop because they knew that there wasn't a guy back there to contest the shots.
Yeah.
And so they had more success in the paint and then, getting to the line. They weren't afraid to drive in there because they knew we didn't have a shot blocker on the other end. So for what he does, the importance, I am thrilled that it is just an hyperextended knee, and the swelling, I guess, was pretty bad, but it seems to be better today than it was yesterday, according to Baratelli. So, the hope is that Sergio Ibarra is going to work his magic and his Mr. Miyagi, on that knee and get Goon back as soon as possible. So.
Oh man,
he won't be back for tomorrow. I don't think he's Danny LaRusso, but he'll be back. So I'm confident he'll be back sometime this season.
Well, you know what they say, man. You know what they say? Magoonies never say die. They never say die. And right now, guys, I want to make sure you guys are aware of the NIL shop. This is a good time to promote Magoon's NIL collection. Of course, we got Burr, we got Adriana Cazada, and others also in the NIL shop. Make sure you guys take a look. Kim Villa Lobos and the women's team representation. Of course, the Catapult U shirt with John and Jim show. All the proceeds go towards the Mesa Foundation. Only a $30 donation for the shirt, and you actually get something tangible that you could wear on Senior Day, and hopefully we'll see Magoon back by then. Who knows? But either way, sonsofmontezuma.com, our NIL shop is open. For non-NIL items, you can also save 15% off. Let me get my little banner down here at the bottom. There it is. Save 15% off sonsofmontezuma.com and non-NIL items using the promo code MONTY Monty at checkout.
Dutcher went on the Field of 68 podcast, and
that was so great.
You were checking that out, and he was talking about NIL, and these kids are already getting calls from other schools, even though they're in the middle of this season, and this coaching staff is having those conversations with these kids about NIL right now to see if they can lock them in before the end of the season. So we know we have the potential for something really special next year if all these guys return, all this continuity that we have on the team, and the talent that is just going to get better next year. And if we can keep them all intact, it's going to be, it could be a terrific run next year, like a Final Four run. So, folks, if you haven't, donated to Mesa Foundation, if you haven't purchased any NIL gear, this is the time. Show these players love. Let's keep them in San Diego and don't let them go to some other program.
I mean, we didn't even address, unfortunately, with the loss and, of course, with the injury news, the scare, like we didn't even address the great news that Reese Waters officially announced that he is coming back. He shared that with, I believe, Mark Ziegler in the UT, right? And when asked, okay, you're redshirting the rest of the season, you're coming back for another year, you're coming back to San Diego State, right? And yes, he made it known, coming back to San Diego State. And, for that interview with Coach Dutch as well. I mean, what a tremendous episode, interview, podcast, whatever. Like, you definitely, guys, go check that out. It was awesome. Just the like 2 minutes into the interview, I was loving his stories of his Big Ten days. But we've talked about this and tried to avoid it as far as talking about next year and the potential for this team, how it reminds you of those young budding teams, and then the next year is when they have their big jump. I'm so focused on this year. I want to perform this year, but you can't help but think about the possibilities, right? And to have Reese Waters back in the fold, I believe Nick Boyd has already been on record, if I'm not mistaken, saying he plans on coming back and returning for his final year of eligibility. And I've been nothing short with pleased with Nick Boyd, both seeing him on and off the court. I mean, he seems like such a leader and a clutch individual on the court for sure. So really good things, man. I mean, you can't help but get excited. And then, of course, the article with Thakbor Majak the other week. I mean, boy, we saw him at Swish League and Fiend. I was
good.
very impressed. Very impressed. Just the how do you say, the movement? I know they were quoted, the coaches saying that's how they recruited him, was the movement, right? But the free throw form in his shot for a big man like that, it was very, very smooth, very nice.
Quick feet to you. If you pair him with Goon next year, 2 7-footers who are quick and they can then move on the perimeter. They can guard smaller players, plus all that length. Oh, wow! I mean, the Twin Towers, it would be pretty special. So, yeah, I'm just I'm focused on this year, but I think we talked about that we weren't going to talk about really Reese until he made that decision. So now that he made that decision, now we can get just really excited about, right? And hopefully, I hope that decision, because these guys didn't get a chance to, they played in practice, but didn't get to play in games with him this year. Yeah. Maybe that will be motivation as well. But man, those dollars are big that are out there in these programs. And we know from last time around that they throw a lot of money out there, and it's hard to say no to that. So I'm just hoping that Aztec Nation, we all do our part, we step up, and with this NIL tournament, hopefully that convinces guys to stay in this program. Maybe they don't get the top dollar, but they're getting plenty to be satisfied, to be happy, and to help us make a run next year. It'd be great.
That was pretty cool. He Dutch kind of alluded to the players tournament as well. It's just, it really was a game changer for the program.
It's growing too, right? There's so many more programs now. We started with 8, and now it's like almost up to 16 now, isn't it? Something like that. I mean, it's
is it naive to not think, okay, somebody's gonna leave? I mean, we're not immune to it. Duke has guys transfer out every year, North Carolina. I mean, nobody's immune to it. Somebody's gonna leave. But I hate to think that way. I want to think everybody's going to come back because this super team that could be assembled next year could be amazingly special
Yeah.
and a real contender. I mean, you
Yeah.
talk about Farrell Compton. You talked about the 2 7-footers. You bring back Farrell Compton in that mix. Heidi, good Lord. That is a front court and a half. So it's a reality, but it was great to hear Dutch address it and just be straight up honest. Why would anybody want to leave? You may not be in the same plugged in the same X's and O's position that you are. You're taking a big risk, despite the money. There's no guarantee you're gonna fit. You're gonna be that piece that fits in some other program's vision or whatever. And we've hashed over this before already. We've hashed over this already.
Well, I know the coaches would absolutely love it if their whole team came back, because then they wouldn't have to do so much hard work in the portal in April and May, and they can just be like, okay, we got our team. All right, we're heading to Cancun. See ya. And enjoy a nice break, because those guys work so hard. I don't think we give them enough credit with not just how hard they work during the season, but then after the season to secure these guys. And you're working with one hand behind your back when you're comparing it to top programs who have a war chest of money that they can offer recruits.
Yeah. Well, it's got an opportunity to be something very special that they're still working towards this year, and we'll see how this year goes. I mean, New Mexico next up. Can we talk about that? Because this game's over. Utah State's over. It's time to move forward. New Mexico tomorrow night, Tuesday night at Viejas. I believe it's at 8 p.m. tip Pacific time. One of those late ones. We performed pretty well in these late games, though. I believe last time out, at least, that's for sure. New Mexico is coming in the top dog in the Mountain West right now. Their record backs it up. They've recently lost. They recently got thumped by Boise State. I mean, that was a shocker to me. Boise State looks like ever since our loss, they lost to us. They've gotten their thing in gear a little bit, playing that freshman, right?
Peanut
but they
Carmichael?
Yeah. He looked good against us too. I mean, he had a couple moments there.
He had a heck of a game against New Mexico. I mean, all those threes that he hit. So, yeah, they could be a different team, in the conference tournament, and very well we could get matched up with them in the 4-5 game. We're kind of right there, and then there's Colorado State as well, and there is some distance between us three and say Nevada and UNLV. So it's looking more and more like that could be a reality, that we play them first round, and you know how hard it is to beat a team 3 times in a row. So they're going to be there will be a tough out if we play them in the tournament.
That 4-5 matchup, of course, Colorado State 1 game ahead of us, and UNLV, man, what's going on in UNLV, man? All the rumors, is that official that their coach is pretty much done?
I would say so, yeah, and their point guard is out indefinitely, so we're not going to see DJ Thomas, is it?
That is wild. That is wild.
Deaton Thomas, yeah, he's out with a shoulder injury. Don't expect him to come back. He's probably going to transfer. The coach is probably gone. I mean, all that hype with UNLV, and every year their fan base. Like I said in the article, the hate article earlier in the year, all their fan base is always pumping their chest out like they're going to be the best team in the Mountain West, and they always seem to fall flat on their face. But we still got to get that revenge game against them at our vacation home, and then move on to the tournament where we play really well there.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to Vegas still, but New Mexico, we got to get through this one. I'm going to be very interested to see the energy that comes out tomorrow night at home, coming off of a loss, and the scare of the injury, right? Is this team going to come out with a renewed sense of relief? Okay, Magoon's all good. Just he'll be back. somebody else has got to step up and get those minutes. They're gonna be given an opportunity, whether that's Pharaoh or that's Heidi, whether whoever that may be. I see in the chat, Chemo needs 10 plus minutes tomorrow. Andrew, what's going on? It says that. So it's gonna be made up somehow tomorrow, how the game plays out, how the coaches, dish out the minutes and what their strategy is. We're gonna have our hands full. Is Amzil back? Do we know that? Anybody? Any Lobos in the chat know if Amzil is back?
He's day to day. The coach is not going to say anything, I think, before the game. Sure. I think it'll be a game time decision. But if they do get him back, that's a huge lift for them. I think what do you have, like 10? He had 10 points. What do you have? He had 10 points and 11 rebounds against us when we played him at the pit. So he was all over the boards. Big guy, can stretch the floors. Stretch 4. So if they are missing him, we're missing Goon, I think that kind of maybe offsets. Maybe Goon is a little more valuable the way he's been playing, for us. But we'll see. If he plays, it's gonna be even more tough to beat them. But the guy that we got to stop is Dent. You got to have him have an off night. I think BJ Davis really needs to do a good job. McKinney, guarding him, and we need to get in his head, man. At Boise State, he called for someone to be ejected from the game for heckling him. Really? Are you that soft? Donovan Dent? Come on now.
I thought the pit would harden you to be able to take what you guys dish out.
Well, he doesn't have to take it. He doesn't have to take it at the pit. But no, he got some guy kicked out for heckling him. So I think
what he said.
I don't know. But
what would you say that's so bad to get kicked out? Oh, I don't know. I don't want to go there. But
I mean, if it's racial or something like that, yeah, okay, I could see that. But
maybe he said something bad about Snake. Like.
Yeah. But I think Aztec Nation needs to show up and really give Dent an earful tomorrow. Let's see how he takes it. Put the pressure on him.
All right, the show. If any show members are watching this or listening, gonna have to get Guy Fieri on that. Get Flavor Guy. Oh, the E-host. You sat there in Section A last time. You know what?
They'll give him an earful. Yeah, it'll be great.
They appreciated you over there, man. They appreciated you bringing the whistle.
Oh, yeah. Might have to make a return. We'll see.
Section A don't play. Section A does not play. Don't play around, man. Oh, well, Dent is, is he going to be Mountain West Player of the Year? I mean, I would probably give it to him at this point.
Yeah, I think it's going to go to the best player on the best team, and obviously New Mexico is in first place right now, so I think he would have to put him in that conversation. I think the other players who are in contention are probably Martinez for Utah State and maybe Neat Clifford for Colorado State. Those are probably top 3, but yeah, you'd have to give it to Dent at this point. But hey, let's make him have an off night tomorrow and show him why he's not the Mountain West Player of the Year.
Well, I feel like tomorrow, Nelly, Nelly Jr. Joseph, that's a big boy. He's gonna have to be dealt with. I feel like Dent is so special, but not having Magoon out there, it's gonna be a tall task for our big dudes. They're gonna have to muscle up.
Nelly's a beast. Yeah, Nelly's a beast, and he's so good on the boards.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very quick down there. He's got great post moves. You got to get, I don't know. I'd like to see us maybe go at him, try to get him into some foul trouble. If we can get him into foul trouble early, it'd be nice to have their big guy on the bench. I think there is a drop off there with, was it Atiki? Ali Atiki is the guy off the bench. He used to play for BYU. I think there's a big drop off there. So, yeah, Junior Joseph's a hell of a player. And then you add in True Washington, who is just such a great defensive lockdown defensive player who's really playing much better this year on the offensive end, hitting threes and things like that. And he's had kind of a breakout year. And I think that triple threat with those guys has really been, and you throw Ansel in there too. I mean, they're really, really tough to beat. And some of these other guys that are really stepping up, CJ Nolan, he's been hurt, but he's starting to come into his own. The transfer he played at Oklahoma and transferred to North Texas. He's kind of a star there. And
True Washington
comes off the bench. Yeah, True Washington's he's amazing. He's amazing. Yeah. And then you got Borovichinen, who played at Arizona. That's the thing is the Lobos don't lack talent, and they've got guys who have either played at high level programs or that they've recruited. I mean, how we missed out on Dent in our own backyard. He played for Corona Centennial. I know we had guards and whatnot, but he's such a great player, and I think he and Nick Boyd are the two best guards at getting downhill in the Mountain West. I would say him. I don't think Dedon Thomas is more of a, he has a great fadeaway, but I think Boyd and Dent are just so quick. And so that first step that he has, and you can't turn the ball over against New Mexico. Once Dent gets out in transition, when he has it in transition, I'm just thinking to myself, that's a bucket. I mean, and it usually is. He's a bucket when he's in transition. So limiting those transition points is going to be huge in this game, getting back on defense.
I didn't necessarily see it last year, of course, because House was just so ball dominant. I mean, it was his team last year, right? And Dent was that 2A player. But Mama Butler told me, she said, Donovan Dent. And they know, same area, right?
They used to play, right? Yeah, they used to play against each other.
She said, Donovan Dent. I was like, oh no, okay, all right. And sure enough, boy, he's elevated his game this year.
And his shooting too.
I didn't think he was going to do that.
Shot. Yeah, his outside shot's been great, and so
makes me sick.
Great players, and I think New Mexico pretty much has I would say in Utah State at this point, unless they absolutely collapse and lose all their games, I'd say they're in the tournament. They're pretty much locks for the tournament. We still got some work to do, so This is a big, big game. If we can get this game, we don't have any quad one opportunities. Utah State was the last one until the tournament, possibly, but this would be, I think, a quad 2 game, and it says a lot if you can beat that top team in your conference, right? And then
at home,
it could have implications for tournament seeding too, because if they beat you, and Boise State, they beat New Mexico, right? So if New Mexico beats us twice, Boise State has beaten them once. If we finish with the same record, they're going to get a higher seed than us. So and I don't know. I think Colorado State got beat twice, but I don't know. I think they beat Utah State. I'm not, or maybe they're playing Utah State. I'm not positive on that. But that could be another tiebreaker, right? So this has some big implications on the seeding for the tournament, and so that's why we got to get this win tomorrow.
Colorado State has Utah State on the 1st, so Saturday.
Okay. So if they beat them, right, and we're tied with them, and we both have lost 2 to New Mexico, then it goes down to Utah State, and you compare that record. We got swept, and then they would have split. They would get the tiebreaker on that.
So in the Mountain West tournament, I mean, possibly could be sitting at that 5 seed.
Yeah,
possibly. So this game tomorrow night could really be a boost, or kind of just keeping us down in that 5th, possibly 5th spot.
Yeah, and I think it just from a seed perspective, getting into the tournament, we get a little more breathing room. You obviously got to take care of business the last 3 games of the regular season, and then do some damage in the Mountain West tournament. But I would feel a lot better if we got a quality win like this tomorrow. So we'll see.
Oh boy. Well, it's coming down to the home stretch here, man. Coming down to it. Oh, thank you guys all for joining. If you have not already, hit that like and subscribe button. I know we got a lot of Lobos in the chat, a lot of Lobos watching. Anytime this matchup comes up, recognize it. Looking forward to this game tomorrow night. Lobos in town, New Mexico. They always bring a fight. And we'll see how this team comes out. I'm like I said, I'm very interested to see. I mean, this is kind of an interesting, awkward situation. Magoon's not coming back anytime soon. I think Dutch was quoted as, maybe the tournament, the Mountain West tournament. That's possibly right.
I think the best case scenario would be for the game against UNLV, but
it's a travel game. It's a road game. If he doesn't.
Yeah, more likely probably Nevada. If not, then the Mountain West tournament. And let's just hope that knee, the swelling goes down, and there's some really quick recovery and healing there.
But I will say,
your work.
Yeah, I don't want to be too down because look, we just saw them play a whole game without him, and it hurt. It hurt. Yeah. The title of the episode is the no Magoon effect, right? I mean, you kind of patent that label, the Magoon effect, but this is the no Magoon effect. But we just saw this team really step up, battle, and came down to the wire. I mean, 3 minutes, no field goals for either side. I just can't get over that. But that's the reality. All free throws that won that game against Utah State. But this team battled. So I don't want to get too down in the dumps with no Magoon on there on the squad for these foreseeable games. These guys stepped up. And they're gonna have to step up on Tuesday to make this thing a dub. Guys, anybody in the chat? Any more last second comments, questions, concerns? We appreciate you guys' time. Coming up at 9:00, just a quick plug. We've started Fiend. I don't know if you saw it. I tagged you in it, so I hope you saw it. I probably haven't listened to it yet. Aztecs baseball and softball. We all know these programs are elevating themselves there on the Mesa. And, this is our 251st episode right now, Fiend, that we're doing. But earlier this morning, we released our 250th episode. So very happy to say we have the Sons of Money spitballers, Sean and John. They are sharing their baseball knowledge and softball expertise. They're really excited about these new episodes, this new show that's a part of the arsenal that is sonsofmontezuma.com, all of our podcasts and YouTube videos here. I'm really excited, man. I was mixing the thing down last night, and I'm not like the biggest listener to baseball episodes and shows, but they were a lot of fun, man. They caught my attention. They kept my attention. I learned a lot about the programs, both. And I love that it's both baseball and softball, right? Because we all know baseball has got a lot of history and a really promising young team, but this softball program is just they're off the hook right now.
Yeah,
and
they're ranked.
They got a lot of momentum, and they're ranked. Yes.
Yeah, exciting things on the Mesa, and after what they did. Was it last year? Going almost
before Super Regionals.
The year before. Year before. Excuse me, man. Almost getting to Oklahoma City, I guess, is where they play their college softball World Series. So, man, that would be pretty awesome if they made that. Might have to do that trip. That'd be pretty awesome.
So definitely stick around for that. Yeah. Yeah, no, I got that scheduled for 9:00. I might bump it up a few minutes, depending if we wrap this up. But really good episode. I'm excited about those guys, their conversation, and doing something a little different.
Very cool.
All right, Bill. Thank you. He says very good job. Appreciate all your encouragement, Bill. And let's see. Okay, all right. Can't end the episode Can't end the episode, Fiend. We do gotta talk a little bit about Miles Bird. I'm seeing Ronnie. He's asking Bird's been a non-factor lately. What's wrong? What's going on? What's going on? Now we've had talks, and he does so much on the court, but I think it'd be silly to ignore that. Uh, this team, they could really use his scoring. He does so much on the defensive side, the steals, mixes it up with assists and rebounding. But especially now with Magoon out and Magoon kind of being just that consistent factor across the board, right? Really opens a lot of things up on the offensive side.
Guys
But with Bird, and I mean with Bird, the way that the year had started off, especially in the conference season, I can't really explain it as well as you can. I think you have explained it as far as the 3-pointers. And this past game, there was a lot of them taken. 12 shots total, and 9 of them were threes. And to answer the question, Ronnie, I can't specifically say what the issue is, but you just look at the numbers. That's really what you can go off of, and just the shots taken. To me, is just too many threes.
Well, we covered this on a previous podcast that it's where he's taking the threes. He was 0-6 on 3-point shots from 25 plus feet, but took 50% of his total shots from 25 plus feet. So again, need to do a little better job getting closer to the line. He was 33%, 1 of 3 from ones closer to the line. He was hitting those deep threes earlier in the season. I mean, it was like 40% during non-conference. He was hitting them. I believe he's got a sprained thumb or something on his non-shooting hand. I don't know if that is affecting it, affecting his shot or his release or whatever. It's not on his shooting hand though, but something has happened where, either he has just completely lost confidence, but he continues to put off the shots, and during conference season, he's shooting 22% from that deep 3 range, 25 plus feet. He's shooting 35% closer to the 3-point line. But the problem is 30% of his shots come from deep threes. And so, again, he's got to get closer to the line. Can't be chucking up those really long threes, especially the ones in transition where there's no one underneath the basket to get the rebound. I mean, you're basically, if you take a deep 3 like that, it's like you either make it or it's a turnover. Right? It's so low reward and high risk. Like, just got to do better with the shot selection. And I shared with you, like, he doesn't need to take a lot of threes for us to win. When Miles has taken 7 or more threes in a game, we're 4-4. When he's taken 6 or fewer 3-pointers in a game, we are 13-3. So we don't need him to be, if he just makes the other guys around him better, like that pass that he had to BJ Davis in the corner where he hit that 3. It was a really nice pass that he flipped over there, and he's doing those things to get the teammates involved, and his shot is going to come to him, but really I think right now just focusing on doing the things he can to make everyone around him better. He doesn't need to put everything on his back. And you said that no one got rattled by the Utah State student section. I think they got to him. I think they absolutely got to him, because I saw, like, on Twitter, guys that were actually in that the herd, right, saying that, like, he was, saying not so nice things to them, right, and talking to the crowd. They're getting in your head, right, and them yelling "Bye bye birdie" at the end when we lost. I think they got to him, and so the maturity, just again, youth,
the
right?
focus.
The focus, youth. It's his first year as a starting player. He's got to go through these growing pains, and hopefully his shot comes back to him, but you can't just keep chucking him up from, trying to shoot yourself out of a slump with bad shot selection.
Yeah, that focus, the interaction with the crowd. I get it. I get it. It's a sign that you're paying attention, and that's what they want you to do. That's what
Yeah.
you want you to do.
Yeah,
So
he's a
it's like a goading. It's a
he's a
goading you.
fiery, emotional player. He's
Yeah.
very, very emotional player, and that can be good and bad. I can really get the crowd going when he's at home, but it can really kind of get if he's thinking about missing a shot and the crowd talking to him and he's not getting back on defense, or you know what I mean? Like one mistake turns into another. And so I love Bird. I mean, I love he's so super talented, being 6'7" with that skill set. It's just it's a mental game, I think, for him because he's so young. And so he's going to continue to mature and get better in that area. And, we all love him. We all want to see him do well for the Aztecs, but he just is not shooting the ball well during conference season.
Yeah, and it wouldn't even be a conversation because if we didn't think there's better that he possesses that he could be doing. Like Billo says, like you kind of echo that point. 6'7" guard, you got to use your size. Occasionally post, attack the paint, shoot pull-ups or a floater, not live and die with a three. Absolutely. I mean, so uber talented physically, and the smarts is there. It's not even a question about any of that. I think that's why the criticism may come is just because that there's better. He's better than that. And to your point, didn't need all those threes to beat Utah State. Just a little more discipline, a little better shot selection. Could have walked out of there with a dub. Oh boy. Okay, before we sign off, guys, I see Ronnie says, I like this question. A little lighthearted question, right? Lobo fan in the chat want to know what's the best game of years past you guys can remember. Maybe an oldie but goodie you guys could talk about. Is this a game against New Mexico or just a game in general on our side? Because I mean, come on, we were just in the Natty, like we just won the Final Four on a buzzer beater. But if you're talking about maybe at home in Viejas or something like that, I'm not sure. Fiend, you got one? You got anything?
Well, I mean, obviously you'd have to go back to the 1-3-1. I wasn't there. Yeah, I wasn't there at Viejas for that game. I watched it on TV, and it was amazing comeback. That is the best Aztec game. Were you there at Viejas? I know Mike was.
My two favorite games, I was not there in Viejas. I was not there for the 1-3-1 game because I was at a family birthday that happened to be on that day. And I love my family, so family first, always. But it just happened to be that game, and I watched it on a recording like hours after it had finished. I had no idea, oblivious. I didn't want to hear anything. It's like one of those, don't tell me who won don't tell me the score. Don't tell me any of that. Finally got home and watched it and just couldn't believe that comeback for the championship. That was amazing. Dwayne Polite.
Yeah.
We interviewed Dwayne. He told us he was responsible.
He's the one who called it right.
He said, "We got to play the 1-3-1, coach." I don't know if I believe that, but
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Butler buzzer beater at the pit because that was the day my mom passed away. So that was really tough, for me. I mean, I barely even watched the game until the end. But I would say for me, the one that I saw in person was the 2018 Mountain West Conference Tournament Championship, where we had to win the game to get into NCAA tournament. Like if we had lost that game, we wouldn't have made the tournament that year. And so I remember, I think it was Max Montana had a 3-point shot that he got fouled on in the corner. And then Trey Kell just went off. He had an amazing game. And this being on, that was I think it was my first time on the Thomas and Mack floor, in the Mountain West tournament. I remember seeing you there. Yeah. And that was just an amazing feeling being on the floor and watching the guys cut down the nets and everything and how proud we were. So that was that was great. That was probably my favorite.
Yeah, that was another fine one. Some really good battles in this war between New Mexico and San Diego State. I think both fan bases are very passionate. Of course, New Mexico, they have a little bit of an older history going back, to the Michael Cooper days and all that good stuff. So there's a lot of respect there. Still upset that Drew Gordon went there and didn't go to state. Still upset about that. But hey, well, teach their own. But yeah, this last year's championship game was a very fun game as well. Of course, we came on the short end, but it was a battle, man, and you gotta love it. New Mexico's got these characters like House and Gordon, and all these knuckleheads, the Snake, and the Aztecs have got so many guys like Kawhi and of course Jamal, and just so much history between these two. I wish UNLV was competitive again, because that when those three are kind of just hitting. Well, it's been a while since UNLV's been hitting, but man, that's some good hoops.
I love these games against New Mexico. I really hope that when we go our separate ways and different conferences, that we keep that rivalry up and we continue to play each other in non-conference. I would love to go to the Pit again. Albuquerque's a really cool town. We had a great time there, and there's just the rivalry over the years, and I love the passion of their fan base too, and how and I've had good. I don't know. I've had. I know some Aztec fans have not had good interactions with Lobo fans, but I've had really good interactions with them, and I have tremendous respect for that program, and so I do hope that we continue that on after we move on to different conferences, and we can continue to at least play them, once a year, even if it's on a neutral.
Absolutely. They make me sick. The program makes me sick, but they're proud people. If and we went there to the Pit, so we saw it for ourselves. Nothing but respect.
They're doing a great job NIL wise too. I mean, to be competitive in this landscape, I mean, they're really doing a great job in that area. So, hats off to them. Much respect.
Still want to beat the crap out of you guys tomorrow, but it's all good.
Like goes without saying, yeah.
Let's get it on. We'll see you guys tomorrow night at Viejas, 8:00 Pacific time. The Aztecs, the Lobos. Let's get this thing going. Got to be tough. Got to step up, injuries or not. I want these young Aztecs to prove something tomorrow night and fight for this season. Next year is next year. Let's make a run at it this year. Let's make a run. Yeah, and that was another thing. Jalen House and Jaden Ledee went toe to toe last weekend, right up there at the Oceanside Arena. Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, I would have loved to get up there, but the traffic is so bad on Friday night. It's too bad it wasn't on a Saturday or Sunday or something like that. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing Ledee play more games here in the future. It'll be fun to watch him.
Very cool. All right, everybody, coming up at 9:00. Stay tuned. Sons of Montezuma Spitballers, Aztecs baseball and softball episode is coming up. You don't want to miss it. It's a nice tight little time frame, so you get a lot of good information, get up to speed. Got some games going on tomorrow there on the Mesa as well. So if you guys want to get there a little early and watch some games on the diamond, let's do it. Where's Mike? I don't know, man. I think he told me he was sending in his resignation letter, and he's off to he wants to create a gymnastics podcast or something like that. Maybe
he and his daughter. His daughter's gonna
gymnastics pod. So stay tuned for that one, guys. Oh, Mike, we miss you. It's okay. All right, everybody, have a great night. Hopefully get a victory recap. We'll see. Until next time, sonsofmontezuma.com. Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs. Beat those Lobos.
Woo!